Okay, welcome everyone. This is for the middle school for the 2021-2022 school year, and we're going to get started with addressing some of the assessment issues that are before us, and answering your questions and hopefully helping you understand what's going on. And if you have questions, hopefully we can address that as well. I am going to start by, well, of course I was going to share my screen with you. Let's go this way and present it. So we are going to take a look at the assessment. Typically what we're going to do is we're going to cover this probably once a month for the foreseeable future as we get into through the fall season and into access testing. But once access starts, so December, probably will not have a meeting, and then we'll pick it up again in January and move through through the rest of the school year, probably through April. I will send out invitations to get that on people's calendars. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some resources for you. We'll talk about ANET and some of the issues around ANET, Achieve 3000, IRETI, Apple, and then we will certainly have time for your questions. So what we found over time is that when we are together, we tend to work better because we're not alone in this, as all of you seem to be and are separate in separate buildings and separate from us. That when we have a chance to put our heads together on some issues, that the solutions are much better. So please don't hesitate to ask questions. If you have solved a problem at your building that works for you, don't hesitate to share that with others. It may or may not work at other schools, but at least it gives ideas about solving problems. We're going to take a look at some resources in a moment. There is a survey in the agenda that we shared. So Sarah and I are part of a new department. We were reorganized in central office this year, and we are now part of the assessment and learning supports department. That includes people who are focused on data that we will be I'll be sharing this information in a little bit, but they would like to have a survey response from you as to how you can best be supported by them. So let's just take a look. I'm going to add a moment. Let's go and take a look at some resources first before we go too deep in this. I am going to jump over to our website. Hang on just a second, sorry. And so as everyone is aware, the district redid the platform that we use for our website, and we are in the process of getting this updated and changed. So please understand that this is a work in progress. If things need to be different for you, that you're missing something, please let us know, because we really want to make sure that you have the resources that you need. So the resources today, if you go to middle school assessments, this is on the staff only side, by the way, you'll see that it's set up assessments by grade levels and then alphabetically. And underneath resources, there's the assessment coordinator's resource page. So by clicking on that, let's hope we get in. Yep, there we go. You'll see the agenda is listed, and this will be a running agenda. So we'll attach the October agenda on top of this one. So you'll be able to see not only the continuous flow of things, but also have resources available for you. The slides are here, and they are posted. And after this meeting, I'm going to save the recording, and we will post it here, so that if you are you miss a part, you want to hear something again, there are people who just can't make this meeting time, this will all be here, posted here on this page. We will be coming out with the action calendar, so giving you a long range, like a 2 or 3 month view of what's coming up, what some of the deadlines are, the due dates for different things across the board, who's going to do that, whether it's done by our office, the assessment team, or by expected to be done by someone in your building. So we'll get that out and I will share that with you probably in the next week or so. So today's agenda includes a link to that page. But also I want to just share with you the survey itself, which is down here. And please note that we're also holding office hours, and there's links to the office hours for Mondays and Wednesdays, 2 different links. So that's here, as well as the upcoming training dates and some of their focus that will be on that. So let's go back to the presentation and let's get started. So we're going to start with the Achieve level set. First of all, we do know that this is a curriculum-based assessment, and that it is tied directly to the scopes, and that what is required and what is expected is laid out in your scopes at each of the grade levels. As such, Sarah and I do not have very much to do with this. We know that information is shared on a nightly basis with Achieve 3000. So students that are new get loaded in, that class link works for this, and that if there are issues with that, you need to really direct your questions to Incident IQ for any responses. As always, if you have questions, you can certainly direct them to us. We may say, give us a little bit of time and we'll find out. But if you need something quickly, Incident IQ is going to be the best route to go. So not a whole lot on, oh boy, sorry, you don't have to worry about that. So if we have any questions after each one, I'm going to stop right now and see if there are any questions regarding anything on Achieve 3000, if you've got any questions.
Just wondering when that will be loaded into EduClimber and IC.
Great question. I don't know, but I will find that out.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Just a thought about that. Usually IC requires an assessment to be done, the window to be closed. And so you can't, the reason is because all the data gets cleaned to make sure there's no duplicates, there's no missing things, and there's one upload that's done. Whereas things like EduClimber, when we were using FastBridge, they spoke to each other nightly. And so the information would be there quickly. So thank you, Nicole. By the way, Nicole is another member of our team. She said that level set's going to be in EduClimber on the 12th of October. So that's coming up pretty quickly. And she will check in with us about IC. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Any other questions about Achieve 3000? All right, let's go back. All right, so ANET.
Tim, can I jump in for a second?
Please.
We just got a question about new students to school. How are they added to rosters for IRETI and or Achieve ANET? And if they took this at their other school, does it shift to ours? So I know we'll be talking about ANET and IRETI here in the near future. Please, if anyone knows differently, please correct me, but I believe for both IRETI and Achieve, it's automatic upload daily from IC. So that should be, they enroll as long as their teacher is assigned accurately within IC. And the same as for FastBridge, if you have progress monitoring students, it speaks to it daily. So those should be in usually the next day after they enroll. And Nicole's confirming Achieve 3000 enrollment follows via IC. ANET is going to be different, and we will talk about that very shortly here in Tim's agenda. It is manual, and we'll be talking about the process here shortly.
Thanks. Okay, thank you. I appreciate the information. So in the chat, we're talking about the support also that we're getting from Achieve 3000. And Christine is also saying that's roughly 48 hours to sync between IC and ClassLink and IRETI. To get all of those pieces, it does take, it's usually IC to IRETI and then IRETI to ClassLink or something like that. Each of those is overnight. So thank you. And again, like I said, that's what the purpose of this is, so that we can share information so we all know what's going on a little better and can help produce a better experience for our staff and students. So let's take a look at ANET, the interims, which is A1. So it's the first one of this year. First of all, keep in mind that ANET is a standards-based ELA assessment, that it is designed and does a great job of using data to support classroom instruction as well as school-wide improvement support. So the data that comes from ANET is very rich. We do know a couple of things. I want to just jump in and add this because we know this double-checked after the elementary meeting yesterday, but we will again be taking the shorter version of this assessment versus the longer version. So that's the time frame for taking the assessment, the actual students, was about the same as it was last year. So we'll come to some of the other issues as we continue through this. So one of the powerful things about ANET is its ability to help see what's going on and be of support to teachers in classroom instruction. So we're going to cover a couple different things. First of all, as Sarah mentioned, we're going to talk about how students are rostered, about what happens when we change any student information during the assessment window, talk about adding staff, which can actually be done by the people in the school buildings. So if you are they're called data and assessment coordinators. So in other words, if you're the point person for ANET in your building, you can add staff. Please keep in mind that ANET is a little different or very different from FastBridge, for instance, in that it's designed to be pretty much a relationship between the school and the vendor and not the district and the vendor. So there are things that typically Sarah and I could do that are very difficult, or if not impossible, for us to do now with ANET. That doesn't mean that you won't get service. We will just be able to sometimes have to say, yeah, that's going to give us take a day, or it'll take 2 days. So please keep that in mind. We'll talk a little bit about professional development and provide you with some resources. And very helpful, the technical support at Achievement Network is at an email address, and they respond in a pretty timely way. I'm going to go back and just talk briefly about how students are rostered. So this is done manually. Sarah has created rosters and has sent that off to ANET. They are in the process of finalizing uploads. I just was involved in an email exchange with them so that I know that all the middle schools, with the exception of Senate and O'Keefe, are all ready to roll. And that should be done. The other Senate and O'Keefe are scheduled to be done shortly. That is the information. Sarah, can you tell me about when that was current, when you pulled those names initially?
Yes, I believe I pulled the names on September 22nd. And at the middle school level, I was given the sections in which it would be administered from CNI. So I uploaded those specific sections. I am also trying on a daily basis to keep up with new students and adding them in manually. But if you ever see somebody who's missing, please email me directly. You can do it from your end. I'm happy to help with that. If you just send me a name, I can look it up and get it going. Because what happens is that I put it in and then an ANET needs to approve it. So that usually takes a day or two. So unfortunately, it's not immediate. So if you notice that there's somebody missing, don't hesitate to reach out to me directly.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. And that's what I was just going to say, is that, in fact, it is not instantaneous, in that you do have to kind of say, yes, a student shows up, they cannot test that day or the next day, most likely. So it's going to take a little while. Also, we do know that the process for connecting through ClassLink is a manual process as well. I just want to check the next slide. Yeah, no, I'm going to, here's the login process. So we'll kind of skip forward to this. So login, if you're a school coordinator, you go to the ANET website and use your MMSD email address as your username. If you don't have an account yet, you should have one. You may have to create an initial password, etc. Staff will do the same thing. Same website, same email address, using their own email address. Students, however, all this information, their username and password, has to be loaded into ClassLink manually. Now, we got all this information based on who the students were in the initial upload, and that is being worked on right now by Tech Services. So you will have students ready to roll with a ClassLink tile. It'll click. They will not have to add username and password if they are in this initial upload. Now, as Sarah said, if a student moves schools, if they are new to the district, that's a whole different ballgame. And so the sooner that you can connect with Sarah, she'll connect with ANET, we can get the username and password for the student. I'm going to be working with Tech Services to see if we can do a, I know that their time is really crunched, and since this is manual, I'm not sure we'll be able to do a daily upload of new students to ClassLink, but I will see what we can do, how many times, how often we can do that. Worst case, I will be creating a kind of a how-to, a one-pager, which will show that a student will have the tile, click on ClassLink, they will have to one time put in their username and password, and then ClassLink will remember that, and they should be good to go for the rest of the year. That's if everything works perfectly. So we'll keep working on that, and I know Tech Services really wants to make sure that this works. So they've got a team on this. So that's the login. I'm going to jump back here. Professional development, let's go there now. I saw there's a couple things in the chat. Sarah, are there any questions we need to address right this moment?
We're good to proceed.
Okay. So as a school level coordinator, I want to make sure that you have available to you the toolkit from ANET. Now, we're going to go to the toolkit right now and take a look at it. This is, hang on just a second. So this is what the toolkit looks like. And I'll tell you that it is pretty massive. There's all kinds of links in here. And as you begin to see that it just continues, this is 9 pages long. So instead of having, there's all kinds of really great stuff here. I'm making sure that you have access to this because we're all in different places. Several of you have done ANET before, and several of you have not. And so if you're comfortable with this and you take a look at this assessment toolkit, there are things in here that are really valuable. Don't be afraid to kind of mess around and dig around inside of this because there are really good things here. But it's also huge. And so Sarah and Nicole Schaefer and I have been talking about the possibility of chunking this and saying, okay, so here's kind of like whether it's a frequently asked questions or just a little video snippet on how to get this information or where it's located. We're going to be talking about that and working on that. Hopefully we can do something before this first assessment window. But as you go forward, and if you have questions, please make sure that you ask them. One of the things that's on here is called Videos for Self-Guided ANET Product Trainings. And that is also what this document is, and that's linked on both the agenda and in the slide deck that we're viewing. And what it has is some very short, 1 to 10 minute long videos that are designed to help you, A, prepare, B, your staff be ready, and C, it provides, here's grades 6 through high school. There's kind of an overview about the assessment platform. So some of you have had students that have taken ANET before. Again, it's the same length this year. Others have never done this before, and your 6th graders will find this new, I believe, maybe not. Anyways, it might be good to have a video available, and you can take a look at it. 8 minutes. You can determine whether it's important for your team to have in their backpack, so to speak. All right, so I'm going back here. So again, there are short videos linked in this document, as well as student previews that are also pretty short. Now, there are people in the district who can help you. And as I said earlier, that really the beauty of ANET is this powerful data that it provides you and helps your staff with instruction. Great conversation digging into the data. There are some schools that have an ANET, an Achievement Network data support person. Some of you may have that, some of you may not. But I do want to make a plug. Nicole Schaefer, who is working specifically with middle schools, has an awesome knowledge of this, and she is ready to help you out. So make sure that you call on her via email, phone, however, she will certainly help you and help your staff understand the power of the data that's being provided. So please don't hesitate to do that. All right, so again, we've been through this. Accommodations. So really, ANET has one accommodation, and that is by IEP only. It is text to speech. Please do not use this as a scaffolding. I know that there are students who are going to struggle with the ANET assessment, but we need to have that data as it is. So if you use it as a scaffold, the text-to-speech reads the directions, it reads the reading passage, it reads the questions, it reads the responses if there is multiple choice. So it reads everything. So as you can imagine, if you don't need an IEP, what this actually has done is it turns this from a reading comprehension assessment to a listening comprehension assessment, and it's not the same thing. So please keep that in mind. We do know that you have the ability to go in and change the accommodations. We're asking that you not do that. Sarah either has or will be sending you a list of the students who are given accommodations of text-to-speech based on their IEPs, and each of you will have that for your school. Another question that has come up, and I want to make this clear, that in the past, we have exempted students who are English learners who are pretty low DPI level, so 1, 2, and I think up to a 3. Because this is data that is being used at the building level, this is not something for the report cards. This is not information that typically we're going to be sending out to families. Because it's instructional data and it's a very powerful data set, we're asking that you assess and give all students a chance to see how they do. And granted, I understand completely that if you have a new arrival who does not speak English, they will not do well, okay? Don't stress over that. But again, reading a language is oftentimes different than speaking a language. And so we want to provide the opportunity for students to take the assessment and see how they do. remember, this is A1. This is the first time this year. We'll be doing this 3 times during the course of the year. And so those students will obviously have a chance to improve as they get a better handle on the language. So it's not a critical thing that we're being judged on, but it is offering students an opportunity. So I know that there's questions and I can see the chat numbers rising. So let's stop here and take some of those questions. So.
Okay, can I'll read you some questions,
Yep.
but I also want to pop in to mention one thing that was on a slide that we didn't quite get into detail on, and
Okay.
that is staff users for ANET. So anyone who's assigned as a coordinator or the who's in charge of doing ANET at your building, you've been working, your names have been given to ANET, that should be all in line. Anyone who has a classroom assigned to them that I uploaded or gave to ANET for upload, they also should have a classroom account. However, anyone else in your building who may need access to ANET, at the district level, unfortunately, we are not able to access who the users are for the district. We also can't add any new ones. So you would work with ANET to add anyone who might need to be added at your building. You can do that within the platform if you know how to do that. You can also connect with that awesome email address resource, help@achievementnetwork.org. I did put notes about this particular topic within the agenda notes, so you can read what you would need to do, but all staff rights would need to be managed at the building level for ANET.
Yes, and thanks, Kate. You said it's pretty easy. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I would imagine that it's not too difficult to do. Again, people still log in through the website and use their email address. So
yeah, so a couple questions from the chat. One I answered, but I'll just make sure that everyone knows. So to clarify what Tim was saying about accommodations, PJ was asking about whether you would need to load those in. I have gotten the information from IEPs as of last Friday and put in who needs text-to-speech based on IEP already into the platform. So the work on that is done, except for those 2 schools that we're waiting on the students being uploaded. I will be sending each school a list no later than this Friday of whom I loaded it for. And then you can review that. And if you have questions, concerns, you can we can discuss that and kind of talk about why the student may not have been on my list. So you won't need to take any action other than just review those names and just be aware of who was given text-to-speech. So I will be communicating those with you guys in the next 2 days here. And then a question here for you, Tim, from Kate. What about students who are on replaced curriculum who are not working on grade level standards?
that's a great question. I will need to check on that, but I'm assuming that we can. No, I don't want to assume anything. I'm going to have to get back to you on that. That's a great question. I don't know if we can adjust the level for each student. I don't think so. And we may have to make a decision, but we want students again to try. If I know that sometimes that's going to be reaching a frustration level very quickly, in which case then we stop. But the data that comes from it might become useful. So let me get some clarity on that. I will share that with the group and hopefully get that in the next day or so. So thanks for your patience in advance. So John, so yes, new arrivals to the US who are level 1 are not exempt. So this is in conversation with CNI. They said they would like to have every student have an opportunity. Again, reaching the frustration level, or it's like, wait a minute, all I speak is Icelandic. I don't even speak any English at all. And now you're giving me a reading test in English. If question number 1, it's obvious, then you've attempted that. So that's where we're at. So, all right, what else have we got? So Kate, I'm gonna, yes. Okay, so yeah, we'll have to take a look closer at that. And again, I want to make sure that I'm addressing this for the entire team. So Kathleen, thank you for the question regarding writing. And the answer is we are not doing writing. If you want to do writing, so we're not requiring writing. If that's going to be a focus at your school or as part of your SIP or as your team really wants to focus on writing, you can do that. It will be something that is scored by the staff themselves, but we're not doing writing as a requirement across the board. All right. I am going to jump back in to the PowerPoint and we're going to continue to move on. So I saw my friend Christina Whiting here. Thank you for being here, and to all of our CNI friends as well. I just want to kind of touch base on this. So Christina, you are more than welcome to jump in if I make mistakes, and jump in anyways. So first of all, we've got two flavors of IRETI. Most schools, if not all, are pretty familiar with IRETI, and after last year, you understand the basics, but I want to just review this. So the diagnostic screener gives us basic information, and yes, it can be long, especially if students are at or below, below grade level and by significant amounts. That's something that I'm going to have Christina address. But the standards mastery provides the summative portion based on the section or the unit. And that is not in the calendar as it was last year, simply because it varies based on the course and when sections are, no, I'm sorry, never mind. Christina's here and going to correct me. Go ahead.
This year, so the diagnostic is being taken 3 times of the year. We are still presently in the first window, which closes October 7th. You'll be getting an email from Nicole and myself with where we're at right now for your school. Schools are overall looking really good for completion rates, very well on their way to getting things done, which is awesome. In terms of the length, typically it takes 50 to 70 minutes for a kiddo to finish. That does not include time like for logging in and learning how to do all that kind of stuff with the actual assessment. For the diagnostic. The standards mastery checks this year are going to be given 3 times at the end of the quarter, in line with the literacy as well, so that the interim assessments for standards mastery will occur calendared at the end of each quarter. The dates are in the document that is linked somewhere that Tim has for me. So unlike last year where they were tied to more of a course cadence within the scope, the decision was made this year to put them at the end of the quarter. And so that window is the same for all courses throughout the course of the year. They're only given 3 times because the 4th quarter we have the forward exam.
Boy, Christina, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And this is why we work together as a team. I should have known this ahead of time. So this is wrong, this slide. I am going to change this and we'll make it correct. So Christina, if you've got any other things that have popped up, I know that we're well on our way. We're almost done with the diagnostic. If there's any hints or things that troubleshooting that's come up, or if there's some advice that staff members have for others, let me know. So I'm going to just kind of move on. I will correct that. So I'm going to stop here again. And do we have any questions about IRETI? Okay, hearing none, then let's continue on. We're almost done. So the Apple assessment for DLI students and DBE students will be available later in the fall. So we're looking at November. So what the purpose of this is we have assessments to see how well students are learning the English language, but those who are studying dual language immersion languages, we only have Apple to do this. So it's looking at proficiency in languages other than English. Once students get to the high school, we have multiple languages that they are taking. And so the assessment there, we use Apple for French and German as well as Spanish and other languages. So in the middle school, grades 6 and 7 will be doing the speaking and listening portion only. This takes about 45 minutes to 50 minutes. Again, this is untimed. Keeping in mind, we know full well that after a year of being virtual, that the dual language students are probably not as proficient as they would normally have been had they been in person for the full time. Part of what this does is allows both students and families as well as staff to be able to see where students are at currently in this whole entire process. So that's one of the reasons why we're doing this. Grade 8 will be the first time that students will be taking the full battery of Apple assessments, which is speaking and listening, presentational writing, reading, and speaking. So those are a little bit more in depth. Each of these takes about 45 minutes to an hour. And so the total time is approximately 4 hours. It is computer-based. So students can access this on their Chromebooks. They will need headsets. So keep in mind that the headsets include the microphones because there is that speaking component. If you are struggling to gather together headsets, please let me know. I don't have a budget for them this year, as I typically have, especially at the end of the year. I may be able to find a few of them for you. And by a few, I mean like a couple. So I'm working with a vendor on class link options. With any luck, they will have the automatic class link upload, but I'll know that when we get closer to the actual date of Apple. Scoring of Apple assessments is pretty quick, especially if it's going to be those that are the multiple choice or the some of the simpler assessments. The writing portion is the most complex to score, and so that the entire assessment is scored within 2 to 3 weeks of completion of that assessment. Now, one of the things that we've struggled with is getting data back to schools. I have data from years past. I will work with the vendor because they are looking to make improvements and have made improvements, but I'm going to work with them to ensure that we have access to the data in a timely manner so that you can access that and your building can as well. So this is really important, but I just want to make sure that you understand if you did not get data, we'll make sure that you do. So again, I'm going to pause here and just take a look and see if there's any questions about Apple. All right, you guys are making this easy on me, so I appreciate that. Let's finish up then. Just a brief update. As you're probably aware, we had several opt-outs last year during the test. The opt-out process this year remains the same as it has in the past prior to the pandemic, at least at this point. If families choose to opt out of an assessment, it needs to be in a written format. It can be email. It needs to include the name of the assessment. I also understand if families say all standardized assessments, but it does need to be in writing. It cannot be a phone call, etc. Please forward any documentation to either Sarah or myself regarding this. And it is a 1-year kind of thing. So if families opted out last year, it is not a automatic rollover into this year. So let me give you a little bit of information about opt-outs last year. And it was pretty intense, as you're well aware, and I have no problem with it. We had approximately for district-wide, we had approximately 40 to 50% of our students take the forward test. So that would be 50 to 60% did not. Now, I completely understand, given the situation we were in last year and where we're at this year. We are currently at, face-to-face for most of our students. I've been in conversation with people who are in the know, and they have said that there will not even be an application by DPI to the feds for a waiver for testing for this year. We know the state required it last year, so it will be a requirement both for the state and the federal education departments. The number of students that take the test does have an effect on every one of our schools. One of the things that I'm going to be working on in the near future is a communication with families about why it's important to take these tests. That will go to families as well as staff. And I completely understand and I empathize with where we're at. And so if you have concerns or questions, please let me know, and I will take that into consideration and try and respond to that in an appropriate way. But if you have questions that go beyond what we've got shared today, please know that we have office hours in our department, the Assessment and Learning Supports Department, and that will be every Monday and Wednesday. The link is in the agenda. Just let me see. Okay, Kathleen, thank you. The question is, which assessments are considered standardized versus which are considered core content curriculum assessments? In the past, we have allowed, we've said to families that they can opt out of standardized assessment, district-wide assessments. I am going to say that right now, at this point, I'm going to say the forward access, again, you can't opt out, but you can decline to test. We really are, we're trying to build into the system the understanding that the other assessments, so that would be IRETI, it would be ANET. These are really powerful tools that help drive and support the curriculum. And so by opting out, it's actually not helping the student, and because the staff don't know where, using that measure where the student is at. Obviously, we know that multiple measures are the best approximation of where the student's learning is at. I will have to get some clarity. I believe that the students will have the families will have a right to opt out of any assessments that we give. But again, I'm really encouraging us to kind of really push back a little bit on just a blanket all assessments. So thank you for the question. I appreciate that. And I know that that's a serious concern, and I take that very seriously myself. Finally, I just want to let you know that you can connect with us at any time, that our email address is here. I will be giving you my cell phone number if you don't already have it in just a moment. And please make sure you don't lose sleep over assessments, because really we're here to support you. And I am going to stop the recording so that if there's any questions, etc., we can continue on with that.